Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Veterans Resiliency Holistic Clinic. I'm Karen, and I'm the project coordinator. And for anyone out there that is not familiar with our clinic, the Veterans Resiliency Holistic Clinic is a special project under the 501c3 of Herbalist Without Borders International. We promote natural and holistic ways to build and maintain a more resilient nervous system. And we support those who may experience the symptoms of trauma. We've been in existence now for about 3 years. And normally we meet on the fourth Wednesday of each month at the Unity Church at 800 Blanton Avenue in Richmond, Virginia. And for any more information about us, you can go to our clinic or our website at www.veteransresiliency.com. This is our first virtual clinic. So today we will focus on supporting our nervous system and our immune system during this pandemic in natural and holistic ways. And this clinic will be recorded so we can place it on our website. So if you do not wish to be recorded, you can mute your microphone and turn off your video recorder. And I just want to share one more thing. The material shared in these presentations and on our website are intended to be informational only and are not a substitution for medical advice. Please consult or seek advice from your physician or other healthcare professional if you are dealing with any acute or chronic health conditions, if you're experiencing any symptoms of COVID-19, or if you are experiencing any mental health issues or other symptoms. We do not replace your medical professionals. Ask your physician before undertaking any new healthcare regimen, and never disregard professional medical advice or delay in seeking medical help because of something you have heard in this virtual clinic or read on our website. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to our first presenter, who is Denise Cusack. And I am going to give Denise full control over this meeting. Okay, Denise.
Well, I know today, thanks, Karen. So today I know we are looking at partially about COVID-19 and just how we support a calm nervous system. And a lot of that has to do, I'm sure everyone right now is very stressed and anxious about being at home or what's happening, the news, all of that. And so a lot of what we can do is not only herb support, but also just overall wellness to help us stay healthy mentally, physically, and all of that. So, of course, the first is, all of the common sense, stating the obvious, how we can incorporate foods into our health. And what I'm going to talk about today, too, is also kitchen herbalism, because a lot of what's out there on the internet where people are talking about all of these things that people can be doing during this outbreak, a lot of it's not accessible. And the key thing to actually be viable and to work is that we actually have access to it. So I'm going to talk a little bit about things that are probably in your kitchen right now, what you can do right now, and not weird exotic ingredients that you have to try to order that are back ordered for 3 months, like we're seeing right now out there. So the first is stating the obvious, which is, of course, wash your hands, stay home, practice social distancing, but also, a lot of our mental health is also keeping in contact with family and friends, getting plenty of sleep, trying to eat well, and I know we all are probably like, there's stress eating and there's healthy eating. And we may not have as much variety if we're ordering from things online or have limited supplies. So trying to just find balance. Of course, staying hydrated is really important, not only for just how we feel day to day, but also when we're looking at supporting our immune system and keeping a healthy immune system. And then finding ways to relax, getting some exercise, even if it's just walking around your house, doing yard work, any of that, so that we're staying active. So of course, some of the stating the obvious is our food, and eating healthy fruits and vegetables and all of that. Most of the foods that we look at that are fruits and vegetables contain different vitamins and minerals that support a healthy immune system, such as zinc and magnesium and vitamin C, and they contribute to how we feel overall, and also help us maintain a really healthy nervous system so that we're not frazzled and fried and burned out and overdone, which can cause more stress and anxiety. And some of that is, that eating the rainbow. Antioxidants are really rich in colorful food, and they actually help us with stress, like stressors in our body, by helping repair cells in our body. And then, a lot of things that we do in herbalism may be what people don't grow in their own yard or have in their kitchen, but there are so many things that we have from spices and herbs that everyone has in their cabinet. So using what you can find right now is a really great way to find things that you can do every day to help maintain your wellness, both mentally and physically. And a lot of the staples that we have have a lot of really good chemical components in them, like onions, garlic, peppermint, salt, ginger, thyme, honey, sage and rosemary, citrus like lemon, lime, orange, grapefruit, cinnamon, allspice, cloves. All of those have different properties that we use in herbalism, but that you have in your own kitchen. So the first one that is really one of those wonder herbs for a lot of different things is peppermint. It's uplifting. It contributes to a positive mood. People use it a lot for fevers or congestion. It opens up our airways when we inhale it. And that also, the smell not only opens our air passages, but improves our mood. And it's also a circulatory stimulant. So it helps our blood flow and our blood pressure and all of that through our body. And most often people have it in their homes, like in tea bags. A lot of people will have just that Celestial Seasonings peppermint tea, in there. So that's a really good thing. If you have a box of peppermint tea, is you can use it for hot tea, which is, drinking it. And you can use it in a foot soak. You can take a few of the peppermint tea bags in like a big pot that's big enough to put your feet in. Put 5 or so tea bags in, pour hot water, almost boiling hot water over, and let it sit for a few minutes so it's not too hot for your feet, so you don't burn your feet, and then put your feet in. You could add a half a cup of salt if you like. That's another thing that people have in their kitchens. And that's, invigorating and circulatory stimulant, and, it's uplifting. You smell the peppermint when your feet are in there. And it helps just kind of improve, our circulation and blood flow, which is always really good. In a steam, the steam, right now, a lot of people are asking also about, the respiratory health and all of that. And with peppermint, it can help us if we're congested. And so using peppermint in a steam is as simple as having a little pot on the burner in your kitchen, and having water in there and putting a few tea bags, bringing it to a boil, and then turning it off and letting it cool down, where it still has some steam, but you're not going to burn yourself. Always check first, make sure it's not too hot. Take a towel over your head and lean over the pot and inhale and breathe in the peppermint. And that it's uplifting for our mood, but it also helps clear our breathing. And it's really good to keep, if we're all inside a lot more than usual right now, when we get really dried out, often people's immune system isn't as optimal or efficient if we're anxious and stressed. But, keeping moist airways and keeping everything hydrated also helps, with viruses in general, and, to kind of help support our immune system. And if we're really moist and wet and fluid, then we're less likely to have that get more irritated and inflamed. Also, peppermint in a bath. If it's been used traditionally, it's like the farmer's use is, if you have a really high fever, you sit in a tepid bath with mint, and it makes you feel like you're cooling down, but it's a safe way but it gives you that feeling of being cool, and helps reduce really high fevers. And, you don't want to stop a fever, but if it's really high, that's a nice way to kind of cool your body down. Another commonly found, it's food and, an herb, is citrus. And it's used, the essential oils of citrus are used to be uplifting and have been shown to improve like cognition and, benefits and things like that in our mood. But it's also used for, immune support and digestion. And it's an astringent, which means it kind of helps like tighten and tone our tissues. And you can use both the whole fruit as the juice and also the peel. A lot of people overlook the peel. And even orange peel has antiviral properties. And so, there are a lot of ways to use it. A lot of people just eat the citrus, but save your peel. And you can use the peel in hot tea. Say you're making like a ginger peppermint hot tea. You can put the orange peels right in there and steep with your tea. I like saving the peels also and making simmer pots. And what those are is not only can they refresh and provide antibacterial benefits in the air and support antiviral properties through the steam going out, but it also helps moisten and increase the humidity in our spaces, which, we don't want to be dry. That helps keep our respiratory system nice and moist. And so putting some of, saving up your citrus peels and your apple peels and putting that in a pot with maybe some cinnamon, clove, allspice. If you peel your ginger, any of the ginger peels, and simmering that on your pot, it makes your whole space full of this amazing aroma, which makes us feel good, because our sense of smell is so tied in with our well-being in many, many ways. So it smells amazing. It is making our air feel fresh, and it also is moistening and humidifying. It's also really good in a throat gargle. People will often use like a little bit of lemon juice mixed with honey and ginger or garlic as well, and you can have that with put that all together in a mug with hot water. Let that steep for a while and then strain it until you want it warm, but not so hot that you burn your throat. But, you can then take a sip of that and gargle for 30 seconds and spit that out, and you get all of the benefits of that. And also it's an astringent, so that is really nice if we're moistening, but you don't want to dry it out too much. So it's kind of a nice balance. Vitamin C in citrus also helps lower the stress hormone cortisol. So it supports both our physical and our emotional well-being, which is a bonus. Oregano is another one that most people have in their spice cabinet. A lot of people grow it in a pot on their deck too. It's considered to be stimulating and uplifting. It's an invigorating smell. It's also an expectorant, so you see it a lot in cough syrups, and it's antimicrobial. And most of the time we'll find it in those little, everyone has little jars of oregano or herb de Provence or something in their cabinets, or fresh. And it's, again, can be used in many different ways as a hot tea, a simmer pot, again, as a gargle. You can use fresh or dried, but if you are feeling, that scratchy, dry throat, by having that, steeping some oregano with a little bit of honey and lemon, let's say, in some hot water and gargling with that, you get those antimicrobial benefits, and it doesn't taste bad. It's good. It's like a giant pizza that you have when you go. Thyme is another wonderful herb that is, almost everyone has it, I think, in their cabinet. It's considered antiviral. It's also an expectorant, and you can find in a lot of cough syrups. It's an immunostimulant and a circulatory stimulant. And so we find it dried in our cabinets as well as fresh. A lot of people have a pot of thyme, or you can buy, you find them at the grocery store in those little packets of fresh. And it's, a very diverse plant where you can use it, again, in hot tea, as gargles. It's a really great plant for the steams, where you steam and you put the towel over your head and inhale to open. And it's great. A lot of people use the steams with thyme if they have a cold and flu, but it's also just one of those really warm and invigorating aromas that really A lot of people feel very positive and energized from the smell. And so, even in a simmer pot, like if you use all of the leaves for something, you can save all your stems even and put those in your simmer pot so that that's in your kitchen. And it's going through the air and releasing those volatile oils into the air. Oats is another one. It's a nervine, and we use that in herbalism often as a tincture, or for both oat straw and the oat tops in the milky stage as well as dried. And what it does is it soothes frayed nerves. It replenishes minerals. It's a very nutritious, and it has a lot of vitamin B, which helps our nervous system. It has a lot of different vitamins. It's rich in pretty much everything. And so it's also considered cooling and moistening. And what we like about the moistening part of that is sometimes people run really, hot and aggravated. And when you get anxious and overdone, often kind of that cooling and soothing is really good for our central nervous system to help calm us and keep us connected. And so it kind of serves both purposes in that it's cooling and moistening also if we feel like we are coming down with something, because it moistens all of our esophagus. It's mucilaginous when we have it with hot water, which means it's kind of slimy. And that is actually really good because it helps moisten our body and our through our lungs and all of that. And so you can eat it you don't have to have it in a tincture. You can have it as a food. So having oats like with breakfast cereals or oatmeal, and oats are also used often in baths because it's also soothing and cooling for people if you have dry, itchy skin. You can make oat milk if you want to have something to put in your tea, where you take oats in cold water and let them steep in the, whiz them up in the blender and then strain it. And then you have that kind of some of the mucilaginous properties and nutrients from that you can use in your coffee instead of regular milk. But also having oats, I think, that's one of the easiest things that we have that is really nutritious and cooling and moistening for when people, the dry air that we have during, when we're worried about catching something. And almost everyone has oats somewhere in a bag in the back of their pantry. Ginger is another one. This is on the opposite end. This is really warming. This is more of a stimulating, warming. It's an expectorant. It's used in like cough syrups and things. It's anti-inflammatory. We often find it in blends that help us with, joint support and any inflammation in joints and throughout our body. It's antimicrobial as well. And you can use both the fresh ginger, fresh ginger is wonderful. It's a little more mild and less pungent than using some of the powders. But you can also use just the powder that you have in your cabinet. And another thing that you can use, and a lot of people don't think of, is pumpkin pie spice. That's one of those things people can find in their cabinets in the back. Pumpkin pie spice, though, often has ginger, cloves, allspice, nutmeg, cardamom, and all of those are found in like anti-inflammatory, joint support, and overall like antimicrobial, antibacterial support types of blends. And so by sprinkling a little bit of ginger powder over your oatmeal, you have kind of the warming and the cooling both, but you have some of that antimicrobial and anti-inflammatory, which is, good for our whole body, including our lungs, and it supports our immune system. And so you can infuse it in, if you have fresh ginger or the powder, you can infuse it with like lemon and hot water and drink that as a tea. You can add it to, like if you have peppermint tea, add some ginger to that too. It's really delicious. People use ginger in a lot of Asian cuisine, where it's in a lot of stir fries and different types of noodle dishes, because it's just, it's so good for you in general. But again, you can sprinkle it over your oatmeal, even pumpkin pie spice. So just a few extra little dashes of that are good. Ginger also is really nice for a gargle. And I have this recipe also on the handout that I'm going to post to the website, but you can use fresh or dried. And then you have water and honey. You can you always wash your ginger first, slice it really finely, put that in a cup and add, or in a pot, and add water, bring it to a simmer and let it simmer for a while so that that water is fully infused with all of that ginger for about 20 minutes. You let it, you take it off the heat, let it cool and strain it until it's just slightly warm, and you can then gargle with that. If you gargle for 30 seconds, spit that out. Gargling, there have been studies that show gargling with that, any type of gargling with water, sea salt, or herbs can help reduce bronchial infections by helping keep, we're purging anything that we have breathed in out of our mouths. And we're also keeping that really moist and not allowing that to dry out. And so if you gargle for 30 seconds or more and spit it out, you can take the remaining liquid and put it in your refrigerator for a few days, but each time take a little bit out, warm it up for a few seconds in the microwave and gargle again. And you can do that every day. Or if you do have a sore throat, you can do it a few times a day. And ginger, like I said, is both good for overall immune support, as well as if you feel like you're coming down with something or have a sore throat. Chamomile is a plant that is used a lot for just calming. It's great in bedtime teas. You often find it in, like the evening repose kind of teas. Chamomile might not be something that everyone has as commonly in their cabinet, but chamomile tea is something that a lot of people have in a blend of something that's somewhere in somewhere in the recesses. It's antispasmodic, relaxing, antimicrobial, and it's also grows really well out in the garden. So it's sometimes used even just as like landscape plants, depending on where you are in the country. But that's a really great, before bedtime or anytime if you feel anxious. It has kind of like, it almost smells pepperminty and light and citrusy, and it has a really aroma that really helps relax you, as well as the actual chemical properties of it. And so that's something, if you have that in your cabinet, it's great to have before bed. Cinnamon is another one. This is warming again. It's antimicrobial and antispasmodic. It's also often used a lot for blood sugar regulation, to help our body regulate the insulin production and how we manage our blood sugars. And you can find it ground or whole, like whole big cinnamon sticks, but you can use it sprinkled over your oatmeal, again, like the pumpkin pie spice, or just cinnamon over. If you have a hot cocoa, you can grate some or put some on that. It's even good in tea. It's very warming in tea blends, and you can also put it, of course, in simmer pots that will infuse that aroma. And cinnamon is one of those that a lot of people have almost like that, that visceral childhood memory of holidays or, Christmas and things like that. And you can't discount that aroma of familiarity and comfort that helps uplift us and make us feel good. And sometimes being able, even if it's not Christmas, having that cinnamony and clove and all of that, they use that even, when they're showing houses. You go to look at a house for sale and they are baking cookies, or they're simmering cinnamon on the stovetop, because it makes people feel really good and comforted. And so just even having that in your space in a simmer pot can help make you feel happier and more comfortable. And with that's just a few things, but there are so many different things that we can find in our kitchen that are good for immune support, for our overall just well-being, that can contribute. If we feel good, we're going to feel more confident, a little more uplifted. And some of that, is like we were saying, with sleep and the eating for a variety of foods, but there's so many things, like with spices, there's also cardamom and cloves that you can also put in different teas. Chai spice blend has all of those anti-inflammatory and antimicrobial properties if you have like a chai. Other herbs that people use, rosemary is a really great herb you can put in a simmer pot or in a gargle. It's also really great in steams. So is sage, that has a lot of those antiviral properties. And sage is often used, during cold and flu season in tinctures as well. And having that, like, if you're doing a steam, if you have a handful of different dried herbs, you can combine them and have something that, it smells amazing too, but it also then will help, keep your sinuses clear and moist. And then, of course, like we said, the foods, it's fresh fruits and vegetables. And don't forget, nuts and seeds. A lot of like mixed nuts, we may have for snacks, and they contain a lot of, zinc and magnesium or other vitamins that contribute to a healthy nervous system, that replenish and help with our pathways, nerve pathways. So a few of the things that I kind of mentioned, you can combine some of these things that you can do in your own home easily, such as steams. You bring a pot of water to a simmer, you put in a variety of the herbs that you have on hand. Maybe you have some, thyme or rosemary out in your garden. Put in a few sprigs of those. Just make sure that you test the temperature first so it's not too hot, and put a towel over your head and then inhale. And you get both the benefit of the uplifting smells and the properties of those. The simmer pots is to help keep everything moist. You can even, save your apple peels and toss those in as well. Apple peels also are moistening because of the pectin. A lot of the pectin we use for canning is from things like apple peels. So if you're eating apples, save your apple peels. You can put those in your tea as well, and that helps keep everything nice and moist from the natural pectins in that. You can also put those in the simmer pots, and they infuse that amazing apple smell into the air. Hot tea is basically an infusion, and what we call an infusion is something that you steep in hot water. When we use tea bags, we tend to only let it steep for a couple minutes, maybe 3 minutes, but to get a lot more of those herbal properties out of the plants, it's better to steep a little bit longer. So when you make tea, if you want to get more of those benefits from peppermint, let's say, or ginger, let it go for more 5 to 10 minutes, or even maybe 20 if you have time to strain and reheat it, so that you have a more concentrated tea than just a tea bag for a minute or two. And then you can always sweeten to taste, and honey is always really great. It's antimicrobial. It is soothing and moistening, so that's also really great for us. And foot soaks are really, there's something that's not too hard. Maybe some of us have a hard time getting in and out of the bathtub, and it may be more complicated. Or if we only have showers, if we're in apartments. So foot soaks are very easy to do. You have, even, like those turkey tubs where you made your turkey, for the holidays, those usually can fit your feet. And you can take, half a cup of salt. If you have Epsom salt, that works great. But if all you have is the big tub of iodized salt, that's good too. Salt is, really wonderful and has a lot of benefits too. And it's antibacterial, and it's even antifungal. Sorry, my thing is being weird. So you can add some of the salt to your tub of water, pour in almost boiling water. If you have any essential oils, you can use those, or you can put herbs in. Rosemary is something that's invigorating and uplifting, that also is really nice for feet. If you have lavender plants out in your landscaping, but they're not blooming yet, even the leaves of lavender have a lot of those essential volatile oils in them, and you can strip some of the dried leaves off of those and put those in foot soaks as well. And that is calming. And so you can just do that and put your feet in and sit until the water is cool. And that it also, helps stimulate your circulation. And so that's really nice to help our bodies kind of stay where they need to be. Another thing, this isn't herbal, but it's really, all of this is so important together, is having a routine. When we're home all the time and our schedules are different, maybe different, then people may not maintain a schedule. And by not having a regular schedule, it might make our sleep, less, more choppy, or maybe people don't get as good night's rest, because they aren't keeping a regular schedule. So, if you take an evening shower, if you have any, herbal like lavender or rosemary can be in your shower even, that will get some of that positive smell. Take a warm shower, have a cup of hot tea, and turn off all the devices, turn the lights down, and calm yourself so that when you go to sleep, you're ready to sleep. Exercise is always good for the mood, but it also like helps regulate serotonin levels, and just getting up and walking, even if we have to keep our distance from people, getting up and moving around. The saltwater gargles are used for sore throats, and those are, I know I mentioned those and a few others, like the ginger, but you really can do that with many different herbs, and thyme and sage are both great for those as well. And if you even just gargle every day and you get in a habit of it, it actually is invigorating in a way. I think that action stimulates our circulation, and if you're feeling a little like something, not quite 100%, even, it seems silly, but gargling can make you feel like you've re-energized yourself. And also just general immune support. And there are a lot of herbs, and there are a lot of plants and roots and foods that we can use to support our general immune system, but it's difficult if we're all quarantined at home to go out and find all these different things. But if you have your vitamins, you continue taking your vitamins. If you have fresh fruits and vegetables, eating plenty of onions and garlic, mushrooms, fresh green vegetables, because those are high in different vitamins as well. Having citrus for your vitamin C, all of that will help kind of manage not only our immune system, but our nervous system. And sugar is something that, sugar can depress our immune system. And also it contributes to us just having more fatigue if we are overdoing it on the sugar. So kind of regulating that a little bit can help. So, staying hydrated is something that I know everybody says it. Make sure you drink. But it actually does contribute to not only our immune system, and it helps us if we are coming down with something, because a lot of different viruses are more effective if we're very dry. And so keeping that moistening, hence the simmer pots and drinking lots of tea. But it also is great for overall well-being, because it helps manage, our body wants to find homeostasis. It always wants to find that balance, and keeping the liquids and making sure, even if you take a sip, that's one of the recommendations I've actually heard for just this particular virus, is drink every 20 minutes. Make sure you have a sip of something, because that way you stay moist, you stay hydrated, and your body does not become depleted in anything at all, which, helps us with our mood and how we feel in general and our energy levels, but also helps us combat anything we may encounter for our immune system. And, for our mental health, it's always good, read books. I have a handout that I'll do. You can read. There's some links for some really great ways to be able to incorporate some of these, ginger and cinnamon and steams and gargles at home with things that you probably already have. So you can read and learn some more about how to help your nervous system and your immune system. And, it's really important to be able to reach out for help. And I know all of us with the Veterans Clinic are always here if anybody ever needs to reach out or have someone to chat with. Because especially, when we're all at home, some of us might not be at home more. This may be our normal life already, but some of us, it may be a big change where difficult or alienating, or we feel alone. And so always be sure to reach out to other people. And, the routine, a lot of that also helps contribute to our overall well-being is, always make sure you eat a good breakfast. Oatmeal is amazing. It covers all the bases. Throw some spices over the top, keep your routine, connect to people, go to bed at the same time every night. And if you have any other needs, if you reach out to any of us, we're always here for that. And if you do feel like you have questions more specifically about any of the hoopla that's going on right now, or any concerns about anything that you've read, or questions, because there's so many people that are sharing information about foods and herbs and all of that we can do to support our immune system specifically for this virus, that it can be overwhelming. I've heard from many people already saying that they're overwhelmed. There's too much information to wade through. And, the thing is, there's no one size fits all. There's, we're always, as humans, looking for the magic pill, that makes us feel happy, that makes us feel well, and that keeps us safe. But, really, each of us individually has our own, we have different qualities and different energies that we then want to look to customize how we respond to things and to each individual's needs. And so that's one of the reasons why I didn't say here, these herbs for this thing. And we're talking about our general immune system and our general well-being, because being confident and happy, feeling good, and taking care of ourselves contributes greatly to being well. But also, there is no one single answer. And so if you have questions, or say, I read about something, I heard about something, what do you think about this? I'm always here to kind of walk through that and how that would apply to you as an individual. So I have the URL here. We're also going to post the handout to the website. It does have some more specific herbs about general calming, supporting our calm nervous system, as well as some things you can do at home for your overall immune system.